Opposing points of view on this topic. David Quam is the Director of Federal Relations for the National Governors Association, and Steve DelBianco is Executive Director for NetChoice Coalition, an advocacy group that protects online commerce. Steve, let me begin with you. Why do you oppose this legislation?
Yeah, fairness has lost all meaning in this town. I mean, how can it be fair when you're going to force businesses in all 50 states to face audits, tax demands from tax collectors in 46 different states where those businesses have no presence at all? It's really becoming a burden and a barrier on businesses that want to reach customers all around the country.
David Quam, what's your response?
I think Steve's version of fair is a little bit off. Fair is when your corner store competes fairly with some electronic commerce seller from another state who's competing for those same customers. Both should have to collect sales taxes. Both should be allowed to compete on an even ground. That's what's fair.
Steve, back to you with a follow. Why do such companies as Amazon and Walmart find themselves both supporting this when they do a lot of online commerce?
Yeah, that's easy because it's ridiculous to say that the internet doesn't subject itself to sales taxes. 19 of the top 20 e-retailers already collect for all the states that have a sales tax. And Amazon will be collecting for over half the U.S. population later this year under current law. You see, e-commerce is subject to sales tax, and more big e-retailers like Walmart, Target, and Amazon already have to collect. And when you already have to collect, you'll take any amount of simplification because it helps a little, especially if it puts burdens on the businesses you compete with.
Mr. Quam, why don't you answer Steve there, but also answer the question that I've read that this proposal that is in the Senate and then would presumably go to the House would unfairly burden small internet retailers, most especially in states where there are no sales taxes now, like Montana, like New Hampshire, and several others.
You know, fairness means a lot of things. And for those states without a sales tax, those companies, if they're going to do online business and do business in another state, they need to play by that state's rules. And that includes collecting sales tax. And in an internet age with technology, that can be done. As far as what's being collected online already, for those companies who are already present everywhere, they are collecting and have been collecting. Right. But electronic retail means there are not the same borders anymore. And so your corner store who does not get an exemption from sales tax is having to compete against people who don't have to collect. Now, every citizen's supposed to remit that use tax, but at the end of the day, this is a collection issue for states. It's about fairness for companies and competition and making it better for consumers who can have more robust competition between retailers.
Steve, what about that? What about the idea that the little guy is, or the online retailer has an unfair advantage in these matters? And number two, that as you pointed out just a moment ago, many of these companies are already collecting and remitting sales tax. Why shouldn't all of them do it?
Yeah, you have to. Every place that you have a physical presence, you've got to collect. And as far as Main Street being at a disadvantage, take a look at what happened in states like Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, and California when Amazon.com began collecting sales tax. You'll notice that there wasn't a rush of customers away from Amazon back to the Main Street stores. Reason? Consumers don't buy online to avoid sales tax. They buy online for better choice, better convenience, and lower prices. The internet is here to stay, and in fact, businesses all across the U.S. turn to the internet to reach new customers. They're the ones that will run headlong into what David calls the new borderless world. It's borderless because the tax auditor from New York State doesn't have to respect the New York State border anymore. He can put demand letters and audit requests into businesses in Nebraska and all 50 states.
David, address, if you would, the constitutional questions that arise here. There are portions of the Constitution that say that you really can't, one state can't tax interstate commerce from another state.
You know, the Supreme Court said in 1992, a time when we were just talking about catalog, nobody had heard of Facebook or Yahoo or eBay or Amazon, that at that time, state laws were too complex for everybody. But guess what? We're in a different day and age. Everybody knows electronic commerce. The internet is here to stay. It's robust. And what you have right now is because Congress has not acted, you're giving a subsidy to online retailers that isn't needed. They're robust. What we need to do is treat everybody the same. If you're going to look for customers in a state that has a sales tax, you should collect and remit just like everybody else in that state does.
Steve, you got the first word. David got the last. Thank you both for joining us tonight.
All right.
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And still ahead tonight, as China's